Hello, 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 my friends. Kaitlyn here, and it's time for another nerdy book club, and this time we're talking about the Song of the Lioness. So you might be wondering, Kaitlyn, what is the Song of the Lioness? I've never heard about that at all. That's because it's very likely that you weren't even born when it was published. I know that I wasn't, but this is a series of 4 books by Tamora Pierce that was published in the 1980s. Wow, Kaitlyn, that's really old. Yes, it seems old, but I will tell you that this book stands up really well today. So you've got 4 books, although it was originally written as this kind of over 700-page saga, but she split it up into 4 different stories. Alanna the First Adventure, In the Hand of the Goddess, The Woman Who Rides Like a Man, and Lioness Rampant. Why can't I speak anymore? I feel like my enunciation has gone downhill. So as a kid, I considered Tamora Pierce one of my favorite authors because I had read the Immortal series and it has, magic and animals, so I'm definitely gonna love it then. But I failed to read the story of Alanna and how she's this amazing lady knight, and I just kind of taken her for granted in the kind of history of Tortall and never really read her story. It's the story of a girl who has a twin brother and they decide to switch places, and so she pretends to be a boy and goes and learns to become a knight, while her brother, who wanted to study magic, then goes and studies magic rather than having to be a knight, which is what he didn't want to do. They sort of had switched the kind of gender roles. But oh my gosh, this book series is so good! So Alanna, aka Alan, as she's pretending to be a boy most of the time, struggles a lot with feeling inferior, so she has to work 4 times harder than any of the other guys as she's learning to be a knight. But she ultimately comes to be able to hold her own and to be one of the best swordsmen in the land. Swordsman, swords lady, swords person. There are a lot of stories out there for girls where they're sort of overcoming something and they're going up against guys. I've read a lot of stories like that, but one of the problems that a lot of them have, especially you see this in movies, is that it's not always convincing that they would actually be as strong as they are, that they would be able to defeat the guys, because, most women, myself included, are not as physically strong as, say, your average guy. It doesn't mean you can't train or that some women are stronger than some guys or, I'm trying to say this in the most politically correct way that I can, and I feel like I'm failing miserably. The whole point is that when you have fantasy books where you have females going against males, sometimes the reason that they are stronger or able to beat the guy is because they have this magical thing that happens and suddenly it makes them stronger. And I'm all for those stories. I love those stories. I have written those stories. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, but it was really exciting in this story to have a girl who, she is magical, but that's not what makes her, the best swordsman in the land. It's because she has practiced so hard and she's very, very smart. And so she tends to be able to win out with a lot stronger and bigger opponents because she has a lot of cunning. So on the surface, it's a fantasy adventure with this first female knight who has been chosen by the goddess to save the land of Tortall from evil. So it's your basic fantasy adventure stuff. What I think makes this a really great story is that it's about Alanna learning to accept herself as a woman, as a magician, as a friend, as a knight, and as someone worthy of love. This book asks the question, what is a woman's place in the world? And it looks at all the different kinds of roles that women have and how Alanna is making kind of this own role for herself as being a lady knight, but that also she can have the other things too. That's one of the things she struggles with, is she's like, oh, I can't have, love, I can't have marriage, I can't have children. These things are all impossible for me to have, and she doesn't even want them when it starts. But as she gets a little bit older, she starts to realize, well, I would like these things, but I can't have them. That's, woman can't have it all. Maybe it's not entirely realistic that she gets to have the career and the husband and the kids, but it is a fantasy on the one hand. But it is this great thing thing to aspire to have, to be able to have all the things that you want in a life as a woman. So yeah, it's this fantasy about a knight saving the land, but it's also got these really great messages of, women and gender roles and cultural differences and racial and gender discrimination, learning to love yourself and kind of having self-worth. Gosh, I am just going bad with the enunciation today. And as I was reading this, I was like, this is still incredibly relevant 30 years later. thumbs up, Tamora Pierce. Also, why is this not a TV series yet? Like, this could actually be the next Game of Thrones. So what was really important to me in the Song of the Lioness, and why I wish I had read this book when I was much younger, was that, gosh, I hated being a girl when I was younger. Like, I loved girly things, but I didn't like being put in this box that being a girl put me into. I didn't like having these expectations put onto me, like I was supposed to like these things or do these things because I was a girl. And really it was more of the things I was told that I couldn't do or that I would likely not be able to do because I was a girl. That's kind of what I internalized and fought against, and I'm like, no, this isn't fair. Being someone who makes films was one of those things, kind of the top thing that I was kind of told that was unlikely for me to succeed at because I was a girl. Yeah. So it's an amazing story of self-acceptance that I think a lot of young people need. I know that I needed it, and it may not be hitting the New York Times bestsellers right now, but I think more people should be reading it. So yeah, I really recommend reading The Song of the Lioness by Tamora Pierce. It's definitely high up on my nerdy book club recommendations in terms of things that just, gosh, stuff that's so relevant and important now, and that can you not tell that I really love this book series? I run out of words to express my love. So yeah, that's another nerdy book club for you. Do you have any books that you would recommend for me to read, since I'm recommending books to you? Is there anything that kind of reminded you about the books that I've been talking about today, and maybe you think I should read them too? Tell me down in those comments. I need a haircut, by the way. I am putting it off a lot, but I'm trying to grow back out, and it's mostly just driving me crazy. In the meantime, before I get my new haircut, you can check me out on some other social media accounts. Instagram is, of course, my favorite. Come hang out with me and my cats and my coloring projects. I hope this video gave you some smiles, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye!